So the big takeaway here is that the US president is saying that this war will continue from 4 to 5 weeks. Geeta, yesterday, the US administration was indicating that it's likely to get over in 2 weeks. Now they understand that there's going to be a prolonged war. For the US president himself to say that America will prevail, he will not get bored, but then he's looking at some kind of a timeline of over 4 to 5 weeks is an acknowledgement of their miscalculation.
Well, that's right. One, the fact that nobody can afford a prolonged war. 4 to 5 weeks is a long time from now. A lot will happen in West Asia, the Middle East, and the impact of that would be economic in nature, Maria. It is going to take a toll on the entire business in the Middle East and across the world, because flights are disrupted, business is disrupted, oil supply would be disrupted, and then there'll be mounting pressure on Trump to take a call, because they had assumed earlier that they will just go in, do the job, kill the Khamenei and the top leadership, come out, and there'll be protests in the streets of Iran, and that'll lead to toppling of the regime. Lo and behold, that hasn't happened. Iran is still intact. Iran is responding and retaliating. There are many US and bases and other bases of other NATO member states that have come under Iranian attack, and now the time frame has extended to 4 to 5 weeks. If I look at it, the way the messaging is coming from DC, whether it's Pete Hegseth, Trump, or for that matter, all the other advisors, I suppose they will be looking at coming back to the negotiating table and see what is it that both sides have to offer. And I say this because it's the Arab world, especially the Omani foreign minister, who first said that Iran had agreed to everything. Why then did America go ahead and attack?
So America certainly cannot be trusted, is the message coming also from Iran, that there's no question of any talk. But can there be any off-ramp is the next question that I'll ask Geeta. But before that, let's again play that. Okay, so Geeta, is there a possibility of an off-ramp, and who will initiate that? From which side?
Well, the last time during the war, negotiations were underway when America hit Iran. And then after the retaliation that they saw from Iran, and they were using their old stockpile, but the reaction and response that they saw from Iran, clearly Trump then came out and said Iranians want to talk. He said the same thing this time around as well yesterday, when he came out and said, we've got indications that Iranians want to talk. It's only when Arakchi said, we are not interested, Ali Larijani said, well, we'll see. And then the next day they said, okay, we're open to talks. Are we looking at a place where maybe Oman could yet again initiate talks between US and Iran? There are going to be no direct talks because neither side trusts the other. And Iranians certainly don't trust America, so they will have to have a mediated talk. And that mediation, again, could happen by the Omani foreign minister, or by Oman per se, by the country. And if that, and should that happen, we might look at maybe coming to an understanding on nuclear weapons. How much does Iran have? How much will Iran be allowed in terms of enrichment? And Iran had already agreed to those terms and conditions. All they said was that they're not
you're
giving...
speaking about Oman. What exactly is the relationship or equation between Oman and Iran that would not have changed with the change in the generation or the new leadership?
Well, in the region itself, the others and their stakes are different from that of Oman. Qatar could have played a role. Qatar did play a role in the past. Qatar, Oman, these are countries that have had a more neutral stance than Saudi Arabia or the UAE, that have had a very tough stance towards Shia Iran. In fact, look at some of the New York Times and Washington Post reports where they're talking about Saudi Arabia actually picking up the phone and saying, asking Trump to finish the job. That's a US media report. Now, it certainly has come from the intelligence agencies or the top officials who want that put out, that MBS really wants America and Israel to finish the job. But honestly speaking, the entire Arab world, particularly countries like Oman, Qatar that was home to many of the Hamas leaders, does not want to see at this point, at this juncture, a very strong Israel under Netanyahu. See, the win is not going to be America's, Maria, as much as it is going to be Israel's and Netanyahu's.
That's right.
Because if that happens, then Israel will have a free hand to do what they want to in their space, given the power that they would have.
That's actually very well put, Geeta.
US pro-Israel Iran is more dangerous than an Iran with an Ayatollah regime, clergy, but certainly non-nuclear, because that is something that nobody wants.
Yes, it can be a little mellowed Iran from what it was in the past. Maybe an Iran which will agree for some degree of submission, but not total submission is the message.
No degree of submission when it comes to the US. That's not going to happen, Maria, but maybe a reformed Iran.
A reformed Iran.
that can look to the West and say, well, we are not oppressive, we are not oppressing our women, we are not stifling our women, we are not putting people behind bars. They have to be democratic in their setup. There will, in the future, maybe have to be a difference between the clergy and the civilian dispensation, but that is some time from now. For now, look at the other scenario, Maria. If they do not lose, if they come back to the talking table, we have hardliners who will dig in their heels, and that is not good news. So I don't know from which perspective and angle was this action a good one.
Okay.